illusion with spots of rain in the air. They've seen plenty of rainfall since then. The green flag waves, and Johan Zarco leads the field out for this sighting lap. They'll do one lap to the grid, and then at 15 minutes past the hour, the Indonesian Grand Prix will be underway. World champion Fabio Quartararo starts from pole position. Just how much has his wet weather riding come on since last season? Of course, it was his difficulties in the wet conditions and mixed conditions that saw him start the Grand Prix that eventually concluded with him as world champion back at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix last year from 15th on the grid. Can he put those problems behind him and give his world championship defence the kickstart that it needs?
This is a massive step into the unknown for these MotoGP riders. They've done barely a handful of wet weather laps. Certainly the track wasn't as wet as this on Saturday morning. So this really is stepping into the unknown territory. Who's going to quickly master the conditions? Who's going to take the big risks? Jack Miller, well, you know that he's so good in the wet conditions. He's proven to be strong on the Ducati and the Honda in the past. Of course, it was mixed conditions, and he took that famous win at the Dutch TT in Assen back in 2016. Who else has got really strong wet weather prowess in this field? Frankie Morbidelli's actually not a bad wet weather rider. Other guys with nothing to lose, really. Andrea Dovizioso, particularly on a factory Ducati, where you could always put your money on him to be a big threat in these rain conditions. You've got to say, the way that Fabio Quartararo has thrown that Yamaha around that second sector, there's been a lot of feedback from the World Superbike riders here and the Moto3 riders who've had a couple of wet sessions that the grip levels here in the rain at this Mandalika circuit are very good. Very good indeed. So you can see the guys are just out there now trying to understand where the patches of water are, where the water's perhaps at its worst, and then also just work out the grip levels. Pecco Bagnaia, also relatively inexperienced in terms of wet weather riding in MotoGP as well.
Alex Rins is a rider I'd perhaps point to as well, who might have half a chance in these conditions. He starts in the middle of the third row in 8th place. Pit lane closes in 4 minutes time, which is why you're seeing riders come back down pit lane. They do have time to do this. This isn't like the quick restart procedure where you have 60 seconds to get out there before the pit lane closes again. So understandably, some of the smart cookies on this grid, the two Pramac riders, the two Suzuki riders, taking the opportunity to do an extra lap of the track before they pull up on the grid, just to get a little bit more information, just to see where some of the damper patches are, where some of the grip levels are. KTM, of course, they'll fancy their chances this afternoon. Brad Binder, last time we saw conditions like this, was winning a race on slicks. Of course, he won't be running them today. Miguel Oliveira, also looking good. He starts 7th on the grid. Their team boss, Francesco Guidotti, is speaking now with Simon.
Francesco, we now step into the unknown. I'd love to know how your riders go into this race, how they've been feeling in the box, and we do know how in the unknown Brad often pulls out something special. What are your thoughts?
Difficult to have an opinion, difficult to predict something. We never raced here before, and the conditions are completely different than the test and the practice for the weekend. So yeah, let's start and we'll see. But the guys are in a good mood. Both of them usually perform well in the wet conditions. So yeah, finger crossed and let's go.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Francesco Guidotti. Great start, as Lewis said, for the KTM team in Doha. Brad Binder, his third podium finish in the Premier class.